Alright, in this third and final video, we are going to be looking at factoring using the area model. So with this is almost like a reverse way of factoring in terms of what you multiply using the area model. A big thing to always remember with this is to take out the GCF first. If you have, we just talked about the GCF in video 2, so you want to start there with any video that you, with any factoring problem that you go forward with. So if we look at our first example, our x squared plus 9x plus 20, after we draw our rectangle, it is going to be important to identify your A, B, and your C term. So your A term is your number in front of your x squared. So in this case, there's no number, but we know that there's an understood 1 there, so our A is 1. Your B term is in front of your x value, your coefficient in front of your x, so this is going to be 9. And then our C term is your constant at the end, which in this case is a positive 20. Now whenever we're doing the area model, it is going to be highly important to be able to find AC, which is really just A times C. So in this situation, it would be 1 times 20, which gives us 20. So finding those is going to be important as we fill out our area model. So we look at this first example, x squared plus 3x plus 2. The first thing you're going to want to do is, let's go ahead and draw out our area model, our box like this. Now what goes in the top left-hand corner is always your squared term, so x squared. And what goes in the bottom right-hand corner is your constant, 2. Now what goes into the other two boxes, that is where we have got to find two, what some people call magic numbers. It is two numbers that are, that multiply to be A times C and add to be your B term. So A times C in this situation, our A value is 1 in front of our x, and our C is 2. So A times C is 2 times 1 gives us 2. And our B term is in the middle here with our x, which is 3. So we are looking for two numbers that multiply to be 2, but they add to be 3. So you want to think of any factors of 2. So the only numbers that multiply together to be 2 are 2 and 1. And so 2 times 1 gives us 2, and lo and behold, 2 plus 1 gives us 3. So 2 and 1 would be considered those numbers that we needed to use. And so having those numbers, we're going to put one of those numbers with an x in one corner, 2x, and then the other one, I'm going to do 1x just so we can have that as an example. It doesn't matter which one went where, as long as you put them in those two spaces. So now the last thing we are going to do is we are going to factor out a GCF for the columns and the rows. So going across this way, we are going to factor out a GCF. So at the top, we have x squared and 2x. A GCF there. We've got 1 and 2 for our coefficients. So there's not really a GCF in that aspect. But we have an x squared and an x, so our GCF would be x. Looking down at the bottom, we have 1x and 2. Now right off the bat, 1 and 2, it may not be as obvious as what our GCF is. There's only an x in one of the terms. So in this situation, our GCF is going to be 1. And then we are going to going up, same concept here. X squared and 1x, our GCF between x squared and 1x is going to be x. And our GCF between 2x and 2, we have a GCF of 2. Now that you have your GCFs found, we actually have our solution. Our factored form of this, we can write out our binomial. So we have x plus 1 going down and then we would have x plus 2 going across. So let's do it again with our last example here. We have 2x squared minus 3x minus 20. Again, start with your area model. Let's fill in what we do know. We've got 2x squared here, so that's going to go in the top left-hand corner. We've got a negative 20 here. So to figure out what goes in the other two boxes, we're going to do our a times c. Our a times c here is going to be 2 times negative 20. All right, 2 times negative 20 is going to give us negative 40. And then our b term is negative 3. Make sure you keep that sign in front. So we need two values that multiply to be negative 40, but add together to be negative 3. All right, if you're ever unsure about where to even start with this, since we're trying to multiply together to be negative 40, we can think of, I'll do it in a different color, so kind of, what multiplies together to be 40? You can make a little t-chart. So I know 1 times 40. We've got 2 times 20. 3 does not multiply into 40. It is not a factor of 40. It does not divide evenly there. 4 does. 4 and 10. 5 and 8. There are factors of 40. So now that you have all of those listed, we can better try and see which one's going to add to a negative 3. And looking at all of our options here, 5 and 8 would have that possibility. Now because I'm trying to multiply to be a negative number, one of these needs to be negative. So 5 and 8, I'm going to do 5 times negative 8. All right, and the reason I'm doing the negative 8 is because I want this to be a negative 3, and 5 plus negative 8 is what's going to give me a negative 3. So I'm going to fill this in. We'll have 5x on one value, and then negative 8x in the other box. We're going to take our GCFs, going across first. 2x squared minus 8x, having a GCF here. Between 2 and negative 8, 2 is our GCF. Now the one that's on the farthest left side, we want to keep that sign. So since 2x squared is positive, our GCF is going to be a positive 2x. Then we have a 5x and a negative 20. The GCF here is just going to be a positive 5 because that 5x is positive. Going up, between 2x squared and 5x, the only GCF here is going to be x. 2 and 5 do not have any GCFs. And then we have a negative 8x and a negative 20. That GCF is going to be 4. 4 is the largest number that can go into both 8 and 20. And because that negative 8x, the one at the top, is going to be negative, we're going to use a negative 4 here. So then we can write out our factor form. 2x plus 5, and we would have x minus 4. If you have any questions, let me know. If not, move on to the practice.